So thanks, Abraham. Thank you so much for joining us. So before we get started, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, what do you do and what has been your professional background?
Yeah. So I've been working for close to 3 years now with the Royal Bank of Scotland as a software developer in Chennai. So I did my engineering from BIT Vellore, where I did engineering in electronics and communication. And I got the job in Royal Bank of Scotland as part of the technology graduate program right from campus itself. So that has been somewhat of my educational background, I would say. Is there anything else that I should touch upon?
Yeah. So how many years of experience?
I have close to 3 years of experience. So
Mm.
this July, I would be having 3 years of experience,
All right.
work experience.
All right. So how did this whole thought process of doing an MBA come to your mind?
Uh, I think many people I would believe who have done engineering in India would relate to my story that after doing an engineering, definitely we look in once we some of the people who get into software or engineering roles would stay on, but some people after getting in would understand that this is not my area of strength, and through discussions with our line managers as well as with others in our team, we can definitely gauge how good we are on the technical side or what are some of the other areas that we excel in. So based on some of those discussions and my personal interest, I realized that I don't see myself in a long term continuing in a technical or engineering role. And I wanted to make the best use of my experience and go to a good business school to get that business education and thereby make that career shift. So I would say that was my major motivation of wanting to do an MBA, and how that thought came to my mind.
All right. So when you say working in the software development team for Royal Bank of Scotland, does it mean you were creating products for the bank itself, or was it like a more client? Who are your clients when you're looking at, when you work on it?
Yeah. So I was a, employee with the Royal Bank of Scotland, and my client is itself the bank itself. So the business stakeholders are the clients for whom, or the product owners are the clients for whom we make the product, I would say. So in-house, so not an external facing client.
Right, right, right. So, every time whenever you plan the whole MBA journey, the first thing that comes in your mind is, okay, you have to take either the GMAT or GRE, right? So, how did you go about it? How soon do you think, like, when did you start your GMAT preparation? And, what was the timeline that you were looking at when you just thought of, okay, this year I want to apply for an MBA program, or, the next year you want to apply? What timeline did you have in mind, and how did you plan the whole thing?
Yeah, so I think the I wouldn't recommend mine is a great sort of way to go about it, but how I did was right from in my fourth year of undergraduation itself, I knew that I want to go for higher studies, but at that point in time, I had not zeroed in on whether it's an MBA or an MS degree, but I had given my GRE exam right out of my undergraduation. So in 2019 itself, I had given the GRE, and I had got a 324 score. So I would say the timeline was about, I gave it twice. So in a matter of 4 months, I would say I prepared and gave the exam twice. So that was sort of my timeline for GRE. But I would advise that it is better that you start a little more early, so that maybe if you want to further improve your score or something, you can give enough time for that.
Right. So, in terms of the schools that you wanted to apply, did you have something in mind already that you wanted to apply only to one specific geography, or what were your criterias of choosing the kind of school you would want to apply to?
Yeah. So in India, I was looking at a school, wherein I, would have a, good chance to show not just, one academic or one score point, but which would take a holistic view. And definitely, I know ISB was one of my best choices that I had upfront, and which I knew right out of my undergraduate itself, that I knew many of the people in my batch had already gone for the YLP program as well, but I had missed out on that. So I knew about ISB for sure. So that was one strong program. And apart from that, when looking outside India, I definitely looked at programs where, North America, where US or Canada. But at that point in time when I was applying, I was a little bit hesitant to go to the US, though it is more lucrative in terms of opportunities and the post MBA salaries as well. But I wanted to sort of balance it with some sort of stability as well, while at the same time you're not giving up on the quality of education or that international exposure for which you're paying. Also, I would say that the MBA from Canada was a little bit more on the less expensive side when compared to US. So I would say, given your financial constraints or those what you prefer, whether you are willing to take that risk, it depends on that. So for me, I think it was clear that my choice was between ISB and good business schools which I could target in Canada. So that was my sort of reasoning.
Okay. So, when you research on the schools, right? So, what are the kind of, how much of research is even required? Like, when you actually start working on your applications, right? So, one aspect is, okay, whatever information is there on the school website. But now that since you've gone through the entire, flow of applying to interview to, getting an admit, before you started this whole process, how much of research do you think is actually required to do justice to applying to these schools, because these are all good and top schools, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
competition also. So how did you go about it, and how, what in your perspective, how much of it is required?
So I would say that is one of the biggest thing. And if we are spending too much time on taking the test, and if we are underplaying this aspect, I think we are completely losing it. Because particularly this year, I would say was one of the most difficult years. I would say even reading from the feedback from people who have gone through other years as well, because of the sheer number of increase in applications. So I believe that each school is not looking for a generic applicant who applies, because they have the opportunity to pick and choose.
Mm,
So the I would say the kind of research I went through was that I progressed along the journey actually. So initially I didn't do that much of a research. So maybe that was maybe the reason why maybe ISB didn't turn out the way I want to go. But through the process, I believe that I learned how much with respect to application, how much we need to change, and what are different schools looking for, and what we need to highlight, because different schools have got their own so if it's a 1 year program, definitely they expect you to come in with a little bit more of a understanding of what you want to exactly do, what are the companies, because you don't have that opportunity of an internship.
mm,
Whereas maybe 2 year programs expect something else. There are some schools, you should also be realistic. Some schools expect a higher GMAT scores or higher quantitative scores. So those kind of things, I believe it is very important. Also, you need to know if certain schools like Ivy, like example, I'm giving one school from Canada. There the way they teach is based on classroom case discussions. It's heavily based on case. So
mm,
if you're someone who's not looking, uh, sort of programs will not be a good fit for you. So you need to take that also into consideration as well. Maybe some schools will have a more focus on finance. Some schools will have a good equitable distribution of all the. So I would say a lot of research is required. I would say GMAT to GRE maybe is 40%, 60% is the research and interview preparation that you do after that, I
mm.
would say.
That's true. That's true. So, how did you go about it? So, when you say, getting to know whether, one part is obviously the website tells us, there is a case study kind of an approach, that is their methodology, or, these are the kind of courses or electives that they offer. Did you reach out to people, alumni through the school, or was it through LinkedIn, or, did you have friends over there? How did you go about it?
I think one of the big differences is that when applying to foreign schools is that the alumni and the current students studying there, they have also gone through the same process. So they are just willing to help you. So you just need to reach out to them over LinkedIn, and they would give you specific pointers, specific things which you will not find on a website. And particularly, I can say from the Smith MBA that they particularly asked, who did you speak with? So I had to particularly give the names. And one thing I found was that people were willing to not just reply to messages. I was just expecting a reply to my messages, but they said we could schedule a call and talk. I spoke to at least 4 to 5 students from Smith Business School itself before giving the interview, and I can say that those kind of things really help. So one was speaking to alumni, and I believe another good thing is like if you can build, if you are early in the admission cycle, you can actually build a good rapport with the admissions team and have calls with them, informational chats with them. But that will not be something which will be available to you if you're applying maybe late in the cycle. So that was also one of the mistakes that some of the things that I learned along the process. So for example, for Smith, I was very applying very early in the cycle, so I could have one-on-one conversation with the admission director, etc., before going into the interview or going for the application process. So, two three things I would say is one would be definitely LinkedIn, reaching out to alumni. Second would be if you're early in the cycle, having those chats with the admissions team and director and building that rapport with them. Third would be definitely the information sessions the schools conduct. Definitely they conduct information schools, and if you can ask questions like they would note that as well, like good questions, something which you can't find on the internet. So just for the sake of asking questions, it may not work well in your favor. But if you can ask questions genuinely, I think these three things should be well and good for you to get that good picture of a business school.
Mm, mm, mm. So, how did you get to know about Crackverbal?
I think I got to know one was through LinkedIn. I saw one of the posts in LinkedIn, and then I searched also on Google, like which are when I was going through, because I realized that I didn't want. I had already, like I said before, I had done my GMAT prep. GRE I had already completed. I wanted something of an, of somebody who's experienced in this, who have seen all of these business schools, because I was not just applying to Canada, but also to ISB. So somebody who has seen all of these, and I could see that Crackverbal had applicants, successful applicants to all of these business schools which I wanted to apply. And that's how I scheduled the first call, and then went through that process.
Right. So, how important do you think is the role of a mentor in the entire application process?
I believe it is very important, because particularly when we are writing an essay or things like that, we always tend to not critically analyze our work as good as a second person would do. And
Mhm.
definitely this person who would be your mentor, he would also be somebody who's experienced in the field, who would have graduated from a top business school. So he knows what is the pros and cons, how to go about things, what are the best way to approach an application. So I believe a role of a mentor is great. So if I have to point out one simple incident which I can say is that, so I believe that since I had done my a lot of my studies in a boarding school, I thought that I would highlight that in a essay. But it makes sense that I'm mentioning that in an Indian essay, because they get the context. Okay, Ooty is a hill station, and doing it from there is something of a big value. But when you're maybe writing it to Canada or other business schools, they do not get that full context. So my mentor correctly pointed out that maybe that story of you having been in a boarding school, all of that, maybe in India it is something unique, something different, but they may not get that context. So things like that, I believe a lot of revisions in your essays and things, I believe definitely mentor plays an important role. As well as he can also look at your profile and say what are some of the schools you should maybe try, or what is somewhat of a safe school for you, or what is somewhat of a reach, or uh, so those kind of things, definitely a mentor helps, because he's someone who's not just theoretically telling things. He has gone through the process, right,
Mm.
of applying to a business school, got an admit. So I believe it's a good value addition, I would say.
Right. So how many schools did you apply to in total? And did you like divide it between round one and round two? How did you go about it?
Yeah, so this is also something which I would my strategy I wouldn't say was not the best, but what I did was first round I mainly focused on ISB because their round one application is very early, which I wanted to apply in the round one itself. So my major focus in round one was for ISB, majorly ISB, and then there's McMaster's MBA program called Degroote Business School. They have a co-op MBA, as well as a Schulich, which is also a school. Which is both of these two schools were good, but I wouldn't say they are not the best in Canada. But not, but more. I wanted to moderately place the three schools, I would say. So I would rank that ISP as the number one, then Schulich I attempted, then Degroote Co-op program. So that was the three schools I attempted in the round one. But unfortunately, I couldn't get in ISB. I got an admit from Degroote Co-op MBA as well as from MBA Schulich program. But there was a lot of, like I said, this year there was a lot of applicants, and I got the admit for the Schulich in India, Schulich in India program, but with also a good 20,000 scholarship. But it was the MBA in India program. So that was my first round. But after going through the first round, I got a little bit more confidence, and I applied to Smith School of Business as well as Rotman. But that's where I realized Rotman, if you're from an Indian engineer with not I would say a huge number of years of experience, I would definitely say you should apply in the round one itself, because Rotman by round one end itself, early this year there was an early round as well as round one. So by that itself, a lot, almost all of the seats would get filled up. So that was one thing I learned along the way. But for Smith, I had the advantage that I was applying early in the cycle. So those were the five schools I would say that I applied to, and I didn't get in ISB. I didn't six schools, right? I didn't get in ISB and Rotman, but Schulich in India program I didn't want. Apart from that, I got the others.
Awesome, awesome. And how was the interview process? Was it different? In each school, what was the major difference across these schools in terms of their interview process?
Yeah. So I think the Degroote Co-op program, MBA program, which is the McMaster universities, they mainly your interview is with your a career services team member. So they basically want to understand if they can place you after your MBA. Have you done that good research on what are the companies there, what are the requirements they're looking for? So that was what was mainly the Degroote Co-op MBA, along with behavioral questions around teamwork, leadership. It was mostly behavioral questions, and what are the jobs specifically that are looking at or targeting once you're in the program, because you have got three co-op terms as part of the program where you'll be working for 4 months. So that was the first interview. And Schulich also, it was more along the same lines. It is about why MBA. They want to understand what is your reason for MBA, and how much of why Schulich. That was an important question. So that's where like you asked before, your research comes into play. Like, have you done enough sort of research? Or if you're going to give a generic answer, like, okay, I want to do a career shift, they would be looking at depth, like something. For example, Schulich has got this strategic field study. So if you could mention some things like that, it shows to them that, okay, you have done some sort of research. So that was the second interview. But I would say my most or difficult or in-depth interview was with the Smith School of Business. So they have their program director of the MBA, as well as the director of career services team. Two of them would be there with the interview for you. And the interview was also one of the longest. It went for about 15 minutes. So they ask you in depth on uh, why. So it was not like the other schools. I felt were more like, okay, you go through the interview, the debriefs which are there, and then you can understand, okay, why MBA, why Schulich. There are different questions, but this was more like a conversation where in between they would try to bring out those questions, and they would ask point blank questions, and you need to have think on your feet and come up with. So it was I would say a little bit more challenging interview where they went in depth on what do I do on the current role, what roles, how did I progress through that, and what companies do I plan to go after my MBA, and how did I arrive at those companies? What news did I follow about those companies recently happening? So I felt that it was a little bit different from the normal other Canadian business school interviews, which I felt were more easier compared to this one.
Right, right. Absolutely. And did they like grill you a lot more on your essays, or it was more about your understanding of why you want to do an MBA and how do you fit into, what
Yeah,
you want to
I
do?
would say a mix of both because the companies they picked it up definitely from the essay. They also said, okay, we understood that you have worked in so and so role and so companies from your resume, from your essays, but we want to see what apart from that, what are you outside of that? And this is also a common question, something which you have not done in your application, or what is something you want us to know that it would you would bring to the school which some other candidate would not. So some of those questions like deeper on that personality aspect and how you are directly they wouldn't ask you how you a good fit for MBA, but subtly through the questions like okay, if there's a conflict in a team, if someone is not pulling weight, how would you do? So because teamwork and
Behavioral ones.
yeah, those are a very integral part I've found compared to the the interview debriefs I'm reading about ISB or something where they go more technical on your job and others. Here they don't go much technical on telling, okay, Abraham, can you name a microservice? Those kind of questions will never be thrown at you, but it will be more about how would you deal in a situation, how would you think in a situation, how would you behave with people, and what is your worldview, and those things like that. And essay definitely plays a big part, but essay along with resume, I believe, a mix of both.
Right, right. I agree. In fact, most schools, in non-Indian schools, I would say that interviews are more conversational, and it is more about they want to know you more than, because anyway, your resume and your other parts of your application is talking about all the technical aspects of it. But they would like to know more about your fitment and how what you can contribute to that school and things like that, right? So
Yes.
you mentioned you'd already spoken to a lot of alumni, before you got into that interview aspect also.
Yes.
Right. So, how did you? So, a good problem to have when you have admits in hand, and then you have to finally decide one out of the rest. So, what were your major criterias of choosing Smith over all the other schools? I understand Schulich was because you didn't want to focus on the Indian option, so you were looking at, so that was out of the way. What about the McMaster program, and how did you act? What was your rationale behind choosing Smith?
One reason was that definitely the sort of definitely ranking plays a big part, I would say, because a lot of things comes together in the ranking. It's not just the post MBA placements, but a lot about the student experience, the student diversity, and all of that. So
Mhm.
definitely the ranking and those aspects, the post MBA career aspects, I definitely looked at it. As well as one other thing was that I got a better scholarship as well from the program,
Awesome.
and it is a smaller class size, so it's only 80 81 students in a class. So I believe that smaller class size and the unique it's a team based program wherein almost for 6 months you will be in a team of six and working. So three things I looked at it were more like one was the ranking, one was the scholarship, and other is how good a fit I think the program is to me. And they are also offering a double degree in along with MBA in management analytics, which I think is picking up a lot of traction these days. So I've not signed up for that now, but that's also a option along with the program. So you can extend your program by almost 5 to 6 months by taking that double degree, which I have not yet taught, but that is also one reason why I consider this program.
Awesome. Awesome. That's awesome. I think, 1 year back, if you look at the same time, what was going on in your mind, and, what is the stage, mentally, where do you feel, what space are you at right now?
Yeah, I think definitely a better space. Definitely after having gone through that process, but definitely I think I learned also a lot through that process, because one of the important factor is that when applying outside, sometimes we just self-select ourselves outside. So of applying to certain colleges, but I had earlier not planned on applying to Smith itself, but then later I applied. So I think those are also some of the learnings, I believe. Like, you should just back yourself and apply. That level of confidence always plays an important role, not just through the admission you applying to the schools, but also in interview. How they see you is the confidence with which you answer, because you can write a number of things in your resume, but when they ask you how's your day at office, or how would you do if there's a conflict, if you can sell yourself, if you can be confident, definitely they are going to take you, irrespective of maybe some shortfalls in other aspects of your application. So that confidence element, and that definitely helps, because this will be a tough process, because nobody can be sure that x plus x, this is the winning strategy, because maybe some people with a 750 gmat will get reject, maybe someone with a 680 will get in. So it's not a clear cut process, maybe like in India. Okay, if you cross this number or this particular grade, okay, you're in for an admit. No, you might not even get called for an interview. So definitely you have to be that patient and go through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, all your hard work gets paid off in the end also. I think that's also the most important
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
aspect. So thank you so much, Abraham. That was so insightful. And I think, it will definitely help a lot more people who are going through this process now. Anything that you feel you could have done differently, or, you feel that, I should have started early, or I should have, like, even in terms of like you said, the plan strategy around applying to schools or something, any words of wisdom for people who might be applying this year?
uh, uh, no, I'm not an expert, but definitely some things I learned along the process I want to share with others who will be applying this year. One is that definitely, irrespective of which year you're applying to, definitely applying early, you cannot just underplay the advantage that has in your chance of getting an opportunity to showcase yourself in the interview. Because by the time you're in, particularly considering we are from India, which does not have a shortage of applicants who are applying to business schools. So definitely applying early has its own advantage. That is one thing. Second is uh, you might look at certain schools, batch profile, and you might self-select yourself out, or you might look at LinkedIn profile of certain business school graduates, and you might think, okay, I don't have chance at this. Why waste 10,000 in application fee? Let me not apply there. I would say that uh, while it is wise not to apply randomly to all the business schools possible, but also when you're applying, just try to have two business schools or two to three which are above what you think you're capable of. Have two to three or four which are good, and maybe two to three safe schools as well. But definitely don't forget on aiming that higher or better ranked business schools as well, just because you feel maybe you don't fit in those batch profile numbers which they show on the website. Because that is one thing. And another thing I would say is that definitely the GMAT, those scores, even though it might not affect the MBA decision, maybe not, it might not be a single factor, but definitely for if you're from India and if you are applying and you want to get a good scholarship, definitely it has a value. I can say from my experience, definitely if you are looking at a scholarship amount, definitely, and if you're from outside North America, this is the better score for them rather than a GPA or any other things to actually, evaluate what are your. But for others, maybe for girls and others, there are different scholarships available. If you are an Indian engineering male, definitely you should try and give a little bit more focus on getting a good GMAT score, particularly if you're looking to, get some 20 or 30 or 30% scholarship. If you're aiming at that, definitely these are the three things I would share with anyone who's applying next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abraham. So, how much of scholarship did you get from Smith?
I got a 15,000 scholarship.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So my GRE score is okay, like 324. When you convert to uh, 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 GMAT, it is 700. So it is okay score. But I believe that definitely also in Canadian business schools, the scholarships are also not as much as the US school. So considering that, I would say 15,000 was a good amount. I felt that way.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, any money is good money, and 15,000 is a big, big amount. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's amazing, and I congratulate you for getting into one of the best schools of your choice. And all your hard work being paid off. All the best. What is your plan now? When does your course start, and what is your plan till then? What do you intend to do?
My course starts in January, next January. So definitely you'll need to, I think there will be some procedural work as well with respect to applying and like getting the study permits and all that. But apart from that, there is also, I'm told by the school that they would send about 4 modules to prepare well in advance, so that particularly for people who are not from a business background, so that you're well versed with the business foundationals, your statistics or Excel and other tools, and also working parallelly with the career department on, you need to start that networking and that building your LinkedIn and those things before. So I would say those are some of the things in mind before starting the program. I would say and I have little bit of time as well, like uh, considering it's March and almost 7 to 8 months.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Abraham. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you took out time on a Sunday for us. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, and all the best for your future. I'm sure you'll do amazing, after your MBA too.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
we keep in touch, and
Sure, sure.
keep us posted if you need any other help from us,
Yeah.
meanwhile, even before you get it, right?
Yeah. And
Thank
thank you. And thank you to your support, and particularly to Siddharth as well, who was my mentor. Yeah.